Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy presents our NBA DFS Fantasy Baller for Tuesday, May 9th, 2017. All right, we are down to just two series left in the second round of the NBA playoffs. After this, we will be at the conference finals. So from here on out, there will be, from what I can tell at least, all these two-game slates, so it's going to get a little bit repetitive here, and I apologize for that, but at the same time, I don't know what I'd be apologizing for, as I have absolutely no control over the scheduling or the results of the game. With that being said, let's take a look at Houston at San Antonio. The series tied up 2-2. Really, both teams at times have looked like the far better team, so this has been a true to form. Really, both of these games in this series have been a true to form, exciting playoff series. I still think overall I'm going to give the edge to San Antonio, but it should be an exciting one. On the Houston side of things, James Harden continues to see his price drop. He has yet to really put up a monster game on San Antonio, and he did so at the beginning of the season. I'm now wondering, did he do so when he was 10,000 or something of that nature that made the return on his investment a little more palatable? I don't remember. I know that's one of the features we're working on for next year at Research Fantasy, is just being able to track and map a player's performance. Nonetheless, he's still the go-to guy here with Nene out for the remainder of the playoffs. Two things, I didn't mention it in the article because for whatever reason I didn't really think about it, but obviously Clint Capella gets a pretty decent sized bump. But it will be interesting to see what happens, how small they try to run. I mean, Nene only played 2 minutes the last game. He's got roughly 16 minutes. So I don't know if you see Montrezl Harrell in there. I don't think you see Chinanu Unaku. I don't think you see him in there. It almost feels like a real shame if you see Ryan Anderson soak up a few extra minutes. But it could just be them running small ball. Speaking of Ryan Anderson, not my favorite choice, but we're at the point in this NBA DFS season where you have to consider anybody who's not doing nothing, and that is exactly how I would describe Ryan Anderson at this point. From there, Trevor Ariza is coming alive at least a little bit, so that's a positive thing. He's still a little bit underpriced. Patrick Beverley, again, one of those guys I feel like is a little bit underpriced. And then finally, Eric Gordon. I don't really want to look at Lou Williams too much. I think he is just really hasn't been doing enough to really warrant consideration. So I would have a hard pass on him. San Antonio side of the ball, 100% Kawhi Leonard. He's a monster. I know he didn't really come through last time, but I mean, when he comes through, he's going to be one of the highest scoring players on the slate because he has to be. After him, it's LaMarcus Aldridge, who, after having his first really big-time game of the playoffs, did what the rest of the team did and just underperformed. So, not afraid to go back to him tonight, not afraid to go back to Patty Mills, not afraid to go back. Pau Gasol, his price is up there at $6K, but I think that a lot of people will jump to Capella just because of the whole Nene news, and he's been a much more consistent performer, and that in itself makes Gasol an interesting tournament option, knowing that he could be had at lower ownership. I think that's about where I feel comfortable. Jonathan Simmons, 15, 15, 24. I mean, the potential's there for him to hit decent value, but again, not my favorite. Washington Wizards at Boston. This, I believe I heard a stat that the home team has won every game between these two this year. So if that's the case, we're looking at 7 games of basketball, and John Wall, top place to go. With Washington, I think the price is actually probably just a little bit too low for what he brings to the table. You can't, when it's in a series like this, it's so hard to try to provide meaningful analysis, because if I come on here today and say John Wall is a really good play, and then tomorrow I'm like, you know what, I don't know about John Wall, unless there was some kind of injury, what sense does that make? You know, this is the playoffs, so it's pretty repetitive at this point. John Wall is a good basketball player. You want him in your lineup. Bradley Beal has upside. He's a little bit overpriced in my opinion, but he still has the upside. Otto Porter isn't priced high enough, so he's been playing really well. So he's a guy I think you want to get into your lineups tonight. Markieff Morris with Kelly Oubre back. I actually think that, Morris doesn't do what he did. I'm always willing to be on the wrong side of Markieff Morris when he has a good game, because most of the time I'm on the right side. Marcin Gortat's still risky, but his track history in this series kind of speaks for itself, so I don't really mind him. Price dropped for whatever reason, like really considerably on FanDuel to 5,300. I mean, for me, that's almost just a plug and play. On the Boston side of things, like I said in my article, basically my favorite player on Boston, Terry Rozier, because he's cheap, price isn't moving up, and he's been pretty stable with what he's brought to the table. Is he putting up 30 points? Nope, and you don't need him to in the playoffs. From there, Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford, those two have the highest upside. I mean, for me, that's all I'm really looking at. Jay Crowder after that, because he can stuff the stat sheet, which is important. Then I think you could look at Kelly Olynyk. Here and there, he'll probably have 2 good games a series. His price is coming down now a little bit, so there's a little bit more flexibility in using him. Outside of that, when I look at this team, I see a lot of guys who are overpriced, and it's going to be difficult for them to hit value. Marcus Smart with his price now under 6K. I figure he was 5,900, but dropping to 53. Getting closer, but I'm not really willing to commit. So that'll basically wrap it up for today. I think it's a pretty straightforward. Just keep doing what you've been doing. Try to figure out if Markieff Morris is going to have a decent game or not. Ditto with Avery Bradley. Ditto with Ryan Anderson. If you could figure out how you want to rotate those 3 guys again within the core plays who have been pretty consistent, I think that's your recipe to success. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com to sign up for our NBA mailing list. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win. And join us again tomorrow.